All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. And today I'm doing something that I do from time to time, but I haven't done in a minute. But I know that now it is definitely warranted. So I have assembled the Avengers, the Black Male Avengers, to join me today so that we can have really, Sean? So we can have real conversations about what's really going on in our atmosphere, not only in the city of Atlanta, but across the globe. And as Black men who are directly impacted by what is going on and what's going on in the street, who better to ask than those individuals who are, again, the ones that are being directly impacted. So starting from my left, which would be Ashton, everybody introduce yourself and tell a little bit about you.
All right. Well, I'm Ashton Reynolds, 26 years old, CEO and founder of Blessed Coast Enterprises, LLC, where we utilize all forms of entertainment to spread not only positivity, but the uncompromised truth with the intent to show everybody exactly why the blessed side be the best side. Straight up.
All right. Kyle.
I'm next to the left. Okay, cool. All right, I'm Kyle Andrew. I can't look on my screen. I'm right on top of Ashton and next to Ricardo. It's all kind of messed up. But I'm Kyle Andrew. I used to be a correspondent on the Leadership Blend. I am currently about to go get my master's from Full Sail. I haven't told anybody that publicly yet, but that's what I'm doing next. So, yeah, that's what I'm up to.
We'll talk about that. Jasen.
Hey, my name is Jasen. I work in HR, but my focus is working with military and university that are transitioning into the market. And also I'm a father and becoming a book writer and a talker and a jokester and a prankster, and I just like to have fun.
Yes, sir.
And I'm Double R.
How do you do this?
I'm in Denver right now. So basically I'm working for a company called Denver Ducks. Still doing my music, still CEO of Music One Publishing. Got a couple albums coming out, corresponding on the Leadership Blend, and I'm happy to be here.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling. So I want to start with the younger bucks, which would be Kyle and Ashton. Wow. So you two give me what we start with them, the young bucks, because I really want to know how you guys are feeling with all this stuff that's going on. And when I say stuff, I mean the protesting in the street. Have you guys been a part of it? If not, how do you feel about it? Like, what is your viewpoint on what's happening currently? Let's start there.
All right, Ashley, you want to go first?
You got it, Cal.
All right, so I mean, I haven't spoken about this publicly yet, so this will be the first time I'm actually airing out how I actually feel about everything going on. But me personally, in general, I'm very, very happy to see what my generation is doing, and you know, the effort that we're putting in and the changes that we're already seeing from the protests. What I don't necessarily like is, you know, the looting. I feel like is a little bit excessive. That's just me. The initial night that the protests began here in Atlanta, the night that Keisha Lance Bottoms, she and T.I. and who was it, Big Mike,
Killer Mike,
yeah. They all broadcasted themselves and they, you know, told everybody to basically go home. I understand the frustration that came from everybody. They were like, well, why go home? And this, that, and the other. Keisha was like, you know, you're destroying our city. And I understood everything that she said. Everything that Keisha said that night, I completely understood. But at the same time, I feel like now they may be actually hearing us and understanding our pain and frustration. And we've always had, you know, white alliances, but now white people are now using their voices, and not just their voices, but they are going to their peers who don't necessarily understand and are stuck in their old ways. And now they're sitting them down and saying, hey, this is why this is not right. And this is the times that we live in now. And so, like, you know, I'm very, very happy overall with everything going on. That's just me. But I know some people are like all for the looting. Like I know people are like all for the looting and Gucci don't support you and Target don't support you. I'm just like, well, I don't understand why we have to tear down the community that we live in, regardless if we live in Buckhead or not. I just, if people come to Atlanta, Atlanta is like one of the top 5 cities that people want to come to when they come to America. That's a fact. And so why tear it down and trash it? You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel.
I feel you on that right there. I agree with you. I love the fact that there's some situations that are getting addressed, but also there's some situations that are getting undressed. Because address, it means that you're shedding knowledge on the situation, but undress it's allowing for everything to get exposed, so you can have those uncomfortable conversations. So those who are enacting hatred inside of the community, you can say, hey, you have the opportunity now to admit that you are wrong for enacting that upon a specific group of people due to color. I love the fact that there are conversations going on as far as like sharing resources if you're trying to create your own, and a sense of togetherness that also opens up conversations for all of the wrong that was tossed to the wayside due to other sensationalized events inside of society. Now we have the time to address it all and undress it all. And now we're at a point of reestablishment due to a lot of people coming to an agreement that 2020 was going to be a year of change. It's going to be a year of a big come up. Well, change is an uncomfortable thing. So now it's time to have these uncomfortable conversations to make sure that our generation and the generations that are to come don't have those same problems that were lingering from back then going into the future. Now, I agree with you, Kyle, when you talk about the looting and things like that, because, what's the point? If you see some opportunities to get some free stuff or whatever you're trying to do with it, it's so many prestigious businesses that have been standing the test of times, and you destroying it. And plus, some people that you do know have already established businesses, and those could have been harmed and things like that. So I love the fact that people are voicing how they're feeling. Everything that is getting addressed are situations that have been affecting each other for so long. And I'm glad that now we have an opportunity to come up with a plan to reestablish what it is that we need inside of our communities today.
Okay, good point. I'm gonna warn y'all about Ashton. Ashton will pull some stuff like
stop playing.
Y'all better watch him. Y'all better watch him. I know Kyle, but I've only had a taste of Ashton. Y'all gotta watch him. He's trying to be profound. All right, so I'm not gonna pose that same question. He a slip one. I'm not gonna pose that same question to my older gentleman. I'm gonna pose another question to my older gentleman. So to Double R and Jasen, Mayor Blanchbottom caught flack for telling people to go home and saying it from her office versus being in the streets with the people. A lot of people felt like she should have been with them, even if she was going to make that statement, which a lot of people did not agree with, but they felt like she should have been in the streets with them. So my question to you two is, how do y'all think Mayor Bottoms is handling Atlanta in general with all that's going on?
You want to go first, Jasen, or you want me to go?
You can go first.
All right. So, to be honest, I like Keisha. She used to live in the house across the street from me on Burbank, on the west side. So, I like her. I think that a lot of people don't understand how politics work. They also don't understand how politics work when you're Black. It is not the same type of politics. We're not playing the same game. We're not having the same conversations, no matter how uncomfortable they are when you talk to people that are a different color. It is not the same conversation. The reason that it's not the same conversation is the same reason that you pose a different question to me and Jasen than to Kyle and Ashton. There's a gap in age. If you were born in between 85 and 94, you were alive to see crack. If you were born in 99 or 2003, you don't know what crack is. You don't understand what that was. It's that same conversation, and people are trying to force that conversation on people that were not alive to see their ancestors. We are not out. We understand that Black history means everything to what for what is to come. But we are not those people. We are not built like them. We don't protest like them. We don't take beatings like them. We don't make movements like them. We're not unified like them. We are not those people. So when she's telling people, hey, go inside because the next thing that will happen will not come from me, it will come from somebody else. I get it because she doesn't want people to get hurt. That same night that she told everybody to go in the house is the night that the cops snatched that boy and his girl out the car. It was the same night.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody says anything about it. She's not telling people to go in the house because, hey, protest isn't doing anything, or we're not getting anything done, or voices are not being heard. She's saying it because literally a week later, you guys have to go in the streets and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta is one of the biggest Black epicenters in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Our voice means everything in this city. We have Black mayors, Black congressmen, Black aldermen, Black council members, boards, teachers, principals, school officials, captains, in almost every county from DeKalb County, Decatur, Clarkston, City of Atlanta, Snellville. I mean, you can go around Georgia and see Black faces everywhere. That means a lot. We are the example to the rest of the country. We are supposed to be the example. When you go and tear down the city, you have to understand what you're doing. Rioting is not cool. I get it. I understand it. You're upset. It's a lot of unrest. It's a lot of people that are frustrated. But where were you 9 years ago? Where were you 8 years ago? Where were you 5 years ago? Where were you when all of these other people that died in all these other where were you then? You didn't go to their city and tear it down. You didn't go to their city and do the same thing. Don't come here and act like tearing Atlanta down is gonna do something to somewhere else. Because I don't know if people seen it, but I drove through Minneapolis when I was coming to Denver. Whatever they showing y'all on the news is not what it looked like in real life. Them folks is in the streets tearing it up. It looked like Baltimore from a couple years ago. It looks the exact same way. And we have to understand that history repeats itself. And we are not that history. We can't expect to make change by doing the same thing that everybody else did. We're not in positions to do that. Atlanta is one of the very few places where we are in a position to say something. And we are in a position to get our voices heard. And we are in a position to make change. And we saw it. A week later, after Rashad got killed, and a friend of mine went to school with him, we knew him. A week, I put my job on the line. Keisha put her job on the line. The DA put his job on the line. What you see a couple days later, 11 charges. That's the first time that is the quickest indictment in the last 2 years. Look at the dude in Minneapolis. They don't want to charge him at all. They want to let him go. Oh, well, we're going to lock him up and we're going to fire him and we're going to do this. No, 11 charges. The cops getting charged that shot him. He's also getting charged with shooting in the car. He's also getting charged with shooting at the other two people. The cop that was with him everybody's getting charged. We're seeing change, but we have to understand it is not going to be easy. These conversations are not going to be easy. And we can't expect people that do not like there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. A lot of people want sympathy from these people that know nothing about us.
Hold that thought. Jason, you go, because I know how Derrick gets. You go, Jason.
He was preaching for a minute. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Get fired. You go.
So
yeah, because we talked about this already.
The way I feel about it, as I watched it, growing up, T.I. and I, we're the same age. He actually, we were at the same school before he quit all schools. So, I understand the mentality and I understand what you're saying, how politics for us isn't the same for them, right? But nothing for us has been the same for anybody if you think about it. Let's talk about what we're addressing first of all. And actually, let me rewind a little bit. The reason I like to work with college students, the next generation, Gen Z, X, Y, elemental P, I don't know what we're going to call it next, right? But the reason I like working with them and the reason I like being at the age that I am at is because I listen and I hear them. I'm probably one of the few people who actually listens to that generation. But like you said, I understand the other generation. So when Keisha was on TV and she's like, y'all just go home. And then what happens? Our people start making jokes like, oh, look at her like she's somebody's auntie or somebody's mama. Well, guess what? She is somebody's auntie and she is somebody's mama. But at the same time, I felt as though she has been disconnected. That's what happens. That's where we always lose in a generational crossover. We become disconnected, right? And so as we disconnect ourselves, and especially as African Americans, as we disconnected ourselves, we work hard to get into those positions. But as soon as we got there, how did we act? How did we look back? How did we give back? And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about forced volunteerism, because that's generally what happened. Places force you to give back. I'm talking about, how do you really give back? What do you really do? You know, you probably barely go over to see your auntie anymore because she live in that part of the city, right? So when I heard Keisha, I felt what she was saying, but I also felt that she was disconnected, you know, because she's Keisha Bottoms. T.I. is T.I. You know what I'm saying? He's disconnected. Killer Mike is disconnected. So when me, as still somebody who's connected, when I think about it, two things went through my mind. I hope nothing goes wrong tonight, and I need for them to connect back to the culture, to the society, to the group of people, like you said, who knows about crack cocaine, who knows about prostitution, who knows about all of the stuff that went on back in the 80s and 70s. Because when people like that, who are clerks, who are factory workers, who are mechanics, who are nurses, who are teachers, when people like that work hard and see police brutality and realize what I did do not make a difference, I could still lose my life today. And what does it matter if I tear up this store? If they come out here and shoot, they could come out here and shoot me tonight, or they gonna shoot me tomorrow. What does it matter? You know, when you start to get up in age, as they say, you start to lose care a little bit. You start to not care. You start saying things that you would never say, right? And then when you look, when something did happen, I felt Keisha got a little bit connected, because she was like, you know, that could have been my child. Yes, I have an 18-year-old son. That could have been my child. And all of this stems from the fact that police, black and white, refuse to police their own police. And we didn't start rioting. Let's go back to the Boston Tea Party now. Let's look at it from a historical standpoint. What did we see? Because that's what we do. So when it comes to how she handled it, yes, she did the right thing. She called a press conference. She tried to connect, but she wasn't connected. But what she did do is she got out there. I think if I recall correctly, she was one of the first ones to get out there with her city, and then some of the other cities started to follow us. We set a precedence. We set an example. We're actually more powerful than Washington, if you ask me. But right. What needs to happen
so
is...
let me ask...
Go ahead.
So let me ask this question, and I'm going to shift this to, because the question that I had when she brought Killer Mike and T.I. was, what are they supposed to do? Who do they speak to? So my question, this is to Kyle and Ashton. When y'all saw T.I. and Killer Mike, were they two people that you recognized for social activism, or were you kind of like, okay? Because when I had Jared Sawyer on the show, Jared was like, well, you know, why did she get them two? Because they're not even really relevant right now. She should have got some other up-to-date rappers from Atlanta. And he named some people, I don't know those guys, but he named some other newer rappers that were in Atlanta. And he would say that she should have called them because their voices would have resonated with the younger generation. So how do you two feel about that? Do y'all agree with that statement, or did y'all actually felt like y'all heard Killer Mike and T.I.?
Well, if we can be clear, just real quickly, Kyle didn't even know that Mike was a killer.
He definitely called him Big Mike. He definitely called him Big Mike.
I forgot to say, I'm very rich. So that's what we call Rich Boy Kyle. when he was with us.
Yeah,
So, I digress.
He was a little bit before my time. I'm sorry. But I mean, I feel like she called on Killer Mike and T.I. because they both are socially conscious, and I feel as though if she had called on newer rappers that are more so millennials or the newer younger rappers, like, I don't know, from Atlanta, Little Baby or any of the Migos, I feel as though they still wouldn't have been the message to go home still wouldn't have gotten across. I feel like instead they would have been quote unquote canceled, or they would have been called an Uncle Tom, or there's another term that's been going around on social media. Sell out, something, yeah, or a coon is what the word that they get called when you. I'm serious. That's what
term. That's why.
That's what Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. That's what he'll call you if you have a perspective that doesn't align with his pro-black perspective. So I don't think
agree
it
with
would have
that, but I
mattered.
feel you though.
Yeah, I don't think that it would have mattered who they would have called on.
Well, I know Killer Mike. I was born in '94. I know Killer Mike, and I understand why she got him, due to the fact that, okay, yes, they are pillars in Atlanta because T.I. is a big figurehead. Killer Mike lining up musically with Outkast and things of that nature. I understand, and plus they've established businesses inside of Atlanta. And actually, Killer Mike is one who takes young African-American males and he goes and educate them on how much African-American businesses dominate Atlanta. So I understand why they would do that, because they're in an industry that caters to the younger people, but them being grown men, they're able to articulate both the emotional side as well as give some quote unquote guidance to the young people that are out there, because our emotions are high. Because I understand during these times here, the young generation, us, even the ones below us, these are traumatic times that we've never seen before. Some of them haven't seen before due to the fact that they're 13, 14 years old. They've never seen it at this magnitude, so much so that it feels so close to home. Like, I'm out here in Clayton County. Those young boys, I know exactly what street they was on. I'm pretty sure that was a traumatic experience because, first of all, they never been stopped by the police like that. Secondly, some of them probably never had a gun pulled on them like that. And third of all of this stuff that is going on, plus this right here, take into effect of how this is affecting them mentally. So them getting rappers and bringing them to speak to them and encourage them to go home and things like that. I mean, like you said, a lot of young people might not know who they are, but getting like Little Baby or them during that time, it'll just basically seem like the emotions, they would cater to the emotion of the younger generation. They will deem them not knowledgeable of exactly what's going on for them to be able to speak on their behalf. So getting a celebrity, honestly, I mean, I don't understand. I know we have influence, but that's not their job. Their job is they don't have to voice it. But I commend them for utilizing their voice to raise awareness. But their sole duty is lied to what they signed on their contract, which is to deliver music to entertain. So I would like for them to if they're going to use celebrities, allow them to use their voices to educate them on exactly who they are to go to. Because when things get back to normal, they got to go back to their job of just entertaining you while you're living through life. So just utilize the voice to direct them, to educate them on how to vote, who to go to inside of your communities to, get your voice heard properly so it can be properly represented, and then we can build from there.
I wanna piggyback on that real quick.
I got a question. I raised my hand. So as I watched everything transpire with the looting and the rioting, first of all, one, why are we assuming that they were black? Two, why are we assuming that they're young?
Right.
It happened in Atlanta, which is a mixed community. Mm-hmm. And if you go look back at a lot of the footage, it wasn't a lot of black people.
Right.
From state to state.
Right. But I do want to piggyback off what you're saying with like celebrities. That's the conflict with being an entertainer. And a lot of people complain when, like, I hate when I see it. We just saw it with J. Cole and No Name. Like, When you call people out for not doing anything, there's a saying that says you put your money where your mouth is. Actions speak way louder than words. So if you see me in the street, obviously I'm not spending any money to do anything for anybody because I'm out here with you. Versus being somebody like Killer Mike, and I also have met Killer Mike a bunch of times, met T.I. a few times, but you can tell by the act, especially with Killer Mike, him specifically, T.I. is growing in his consciousness. And it's clear with him because you can see it. But if you listen to, like, especially in this city, David Banner, been here 20 years, Killer Mike his whole life. If you listen to their music and you watch their actions speak way louder than their words. T.I. and Killer Mike, specific on that side of town that they grew up on, if you look at most of the businesses that are owned and operated on Bankhead and the West Side, they're their businesses. Those businesses weren't hit. A few of the businesses downtown, they didn't hit, when they hit the CNN Center, they didn't hit Killer Mike's barbershop. His barbershop is down there, but they hit McCormick's and Smith's. What they didn't understand is that 60% of the working staff at McCormick's and Smith's was Black. Their head chef, Black. They didn't hit Hudson Grill. 100% of their working staff is Black, but you hit McCormick's and Smith's because you see white people there. They don't understand Ted Turner employed most of the people in this city. Most of our parents have worked for a subsidiary of Turner or have worked for a security company that was directly related to Turner. If you work for Comcast and Charter in this city, you work there because he brought Comcast and Charter to Georgia. Like, a lot of people don't understand, like you said, with the looting and the rioting, pay attention who outside. White people outnumber us outside by a lot. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, when I was in Atlanta doing DoorDash, I would see white people outside protesting, not us. We make it out there when we get out there. It's the same thing when it get late at night. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, white people outside protesting. But they're also the same people that's busting down businesses. And I get it because their civil unrest is watching other people be restless. And they're like, okay, we got to do something. And it's not young people. Young people have never seen this before. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do. That's why shows like this, there are a few other shows, but like discussions, forums, like putting people in places where everybody can be heard, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Even with our mayor. If you look at the difference between our mayor and our governor, you're talking about like 22 years. 20 years is a long time. Keisha is a few years older than me. So it's like, if she has a son and your son is 18, I'm 31, she's maybe 39, maybe 40, maybe. Look at the difference just between 81 and 89. You know what I'm saying? Look at the difference between 89 and 94 when Ashton was born. 94 and 90, like, there's a big difference. But like you said, there are a lot of things that we're starting to see, a lot of things that are being uncovered. And especially with this city, it's exposing the rest of the country.
Ashton?
All right, Ashton.
So one thing that I do like that y'all are saying when you all are making y'all statements is what I've been reiterating all the time. History, historical facts. I love the fact that you all are doing that because one thing that I try to let my generation, younger generation, or people that are confused about how to handle things, I just try to let people know that history repeats itself because those who have been enacting these agendas upon us utilize history, historical text, to tell the future and also predict how you would react to these certain things once they are enacted. Like there was a book that was written in 1980, and I had read it. They said 20 years from now, we will release a virus that nobody will have a cure from, and it will disappear as quick as it came and come back 10 years later afterwards, 10 times worse. And see, and things like that. So if that shows patience on their part. So with that patience and with that research and with that preparation and with the articulation to get people to buy into a plan that they might not be alive to see enacted, but if they are, then it has been rooted inside of them so that once it comes into play, they already know what it is and they've already prepared for it. Then we must also utilize history to make sure that we are in line with what they are so that we can be productive in hindering that or be one step ahead to not give them the reaction that they were planning for once they enact their plan.
And see, I
true.
like what you said.
All right,
I like what you said.
All right, so let
one
me
thing-
shift
one-
this because we're
Right.
in a space that I kind of want to explore because I got into this discussion with a friend of mine the other day. Somebody alluded to the fact about pretty much too much is given, much is required. So the ideology that when you have more, the expectation has to be different. So me and my friend got on the conversation about athletes and their contribution to the cause, the Black Lives Matter cause. And he was saying something along the lines of them protesting or making statements. And my thing to him was, I was like, for athletes, I don't feel like that's enough. When you consider the fact that football is an American pastime and the fact that a lot of these teams are owned by white individuals and the fact that most of the players are African American who all have $1 million contracts, I don't feel like it's enough for them just to speak out. You know, for them, I feel like their money should be where their mouth is. If we think about, if they only put 1% of their income, which is millions of dollars, 1% of their income into a pool, and that pool, 1%, and that pool of money was sent to some social justice informed or legislation oversight committee, do you know what we could do? Even if they staged an actual walkout and said, look, we're not playing football anymore until you guys come up with a better paradigm about the way that you manage this or the way the teams are owned. I just feel like that makes a huge statement to the world because football is the American pastime. And we kind of got into the debate about that. But Derrick got his hand up, so I can only imagine what he's going to say. But how do you guys...
Just start the timer. Just start the timer.
No, I'm gonna just hit you with some numbers. Okay.
1%.
So you
saying
football, American pastime. Well, football contracts aren't guaranteed contracts. So you have to look at other sports where Black people dominate the sport. Basketball would be that sport for America. If you look at ratings for basketball versus the ratings for football during the regular season, ratings are much higher for basketball because games are more frequent. Now, if you look at basketball teams, it's 14 players.
Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, but you're talking about if you get 40 million people to watch the Super Bowl, that's one night. If you get 30 million people to watch a playoff game for 7 games, the numbers will outdo the football season in just the playoffs. That's why the NBA wants to come back so bad. They don't got nothing. So anyway, if you look at a basketball contract, you sign a rookie deal. Your rookie deal might be about $3.5 million. That's as a rookie player. If you get an endorsement, you're talking $5 to $6 million. You can't get that many people that just got money to say, oh, I got to give away money now. We talked about this before. You can't tell that many young people, hey, look, so we're trying to do something better for the community and we're trying to help out. You got to understand, they didn't get discovered in their community. Out of all the students that graduate every single year from college, and you're talking about 5,000 plus athletes, basketball, football, only about 1,500 of them will make it to the combine for basketball and football. 1,500. Out of the 1,500, only 300 of them will get drafted. Out of 300, 50 of them will play. Out of 50, maybe 20 will actually have a long career. So out of 3 to 5,000 students that graduate from college, only 20 of them will actually make money during their career. You can't expect those 20 to say, I'm gonna come out of my pocket and give y'all some money, because they don't actually know if they're going to stay on the team. I don't look for athletes to do that. I don't look for entertainers to do that, because it starts.
But how is that fair? But how is that fair when the average Joe goes out in the street and they protest? They risk a lot of things. They risk their company seeing them protesting and really seeing how they really feel. They risk when they go on social media and speak out. They risk their income for the cause. So how is that fair for the average Joe to risk their livelihood to do it? You know what? I don't even Kaepernick count to me.
Look. Even though his message wasn't clear, it was. The NFL is very, very specific on protest. So is the NBA. If you look up a player, I forget his last name, but his first name is Abdul. He was a play. He gave Jordan 49 in a playoff game. He protested during the playoffs where he kneeled and prayed. He was a Muslim. The very next year they dropped his contract in the middle of a contract.
So here's the
there
thing.
are very specific rules against athletes protesting, and they make that kind of money where if they get cut in the middle of a season during a contract, you don't make any money.
So
that's why they want to do
it. Here's my thing about it. One, I would not want to point it just at the athlete. I want to talk about celebrities in general. Okay. So for a lot of celebrities, I'm very proud of a lot of celebrities like Nick Cannon, like Michael B. Jordan, and, you know, other celebrities, Jamie Foxx, who stood right there. You didn't even know he was going to come up and speak. So, you know, they hopped on a plane. They risked, you know, catching Corona, you know, to go be a part of this thing. So let's give some credit where credit is due.
Wait. Because hold on. Because Nick Cannon, me and him got issues because you do know what Nick Cannon said when he was out on the trail, right? About hold the black vote. Why would you tell people that? He had a sign that said hold the black vote. Why would you tell people that?
The same
we have
reason
a hard
that
time getting the vote.
The same reason that other people tell black people to hold the vote. Who are you voting for? What candidate represents you? What agenda do they have that represents you?
That's a whole
there is
different
no candidate.
funnel. That's a whole different funnel. We're talking. So you started with you started with athletes, which is celebrities. So let's talk about that. Yes, they do make a good amount of money, but let's talk about where the money goes. Let's talk about where your money goes, right? Because although Black Lives Matter is a great organization, you know, they have to when you sign your name to something, the bigger you get, when you start to sign your name to stuff, you need to look a little bit closer on what dotted line you're signing your name on as far as contributions go. So, because when they donate, that's a tax write-off, let's be honest, right? But what am I donating my money to? Are they actively effective in the community? Are they doing what they say they're going to do in the community? There's a lot of charitable donations out there that say, hey, we're doing this. And then you realize that some people are just pocketing that money. But then going back to what Double R said about, you know, T.I. and his growth. Trust me, I've watched this man's growth. And, you know, back in the day, hot-tempered, you know, knock a dude out quick. It happens, you know, but now he's at a different level. So if you're talking about some of the younger celebrities that are coming in, the younger football players, they have not had their chance to get there yet. So unless somebody like a Jordan or a Kobe or somebody who's been there and more mature say, hey, man, you know, I'm doing this investment into this. I think you should look at it, you know, have your accountant, your CPA, look at it, and then, you know, look at your books and see if you can donate to this. Then that's the only way those conversations are going to happen. And that's what I talk about that generational disconnect. What happens is somebody needs to go pick that athlete, celebrity, actor, whoever, and say, hey, let me talk to you for a minute, not on a Black Lives Matter thing, but hey, here's your career, here's what's ahead of you, here's what you need to be, you know, thinking about, looking forward to expectations, you know, divorces, kids, you know, money loss, money gain, real estate, whatever it is. That's how you keep the money in our community. That's how you build our community for wealth. And guess what? None of this is new because all the other races have done this.
And I got a question.
All right, Ashton.
Who do rich people listen to?
Rich people. That was a good question.
Let me get Ashton.
Derek, that was a good question right there that you were just about to ask right there. And
Rich
Jason,
people.
I do. I like that question right there. And Jason, I do agree with you regarding that dotted line, what your contract says. And to go back to what you had asked, Ricardo, regarding the athletes and things like that, no matter what field of what industry field you in, that's a leadership decision right there. And the role of a leader is to be a servant to the community. There are some people, like when it becomes in the athletic world, you know, like Derek has said, the NBA contracts, those are guaranteed. So what you sign on that dotted line is what you're gonna get. NFL players, the only thing that is guaranteed is that signing bonus. After that, everything is based upon contractual stipulations that you get. There's a set yearly thing that you will make, as well as expenses that, let's say if you exceed a certain amount, like if you catch 50 plus passes, you will get a bonus. and things like that. But that signing bonus is guaranteed. Now, what you do with your money as far as what you want to do with your community, because a lot of athletes tend to want to build up their community because they grew up out of there, especially if they came from the low income areas and things of that nature. But it got to be in their heart if they want to be a part of this situation here. Because granted, there's a lot of sensationalized events that are going on today, things that do need to have answers and things of that nature. But where their money is going to, if it's going to be a problem that as long as they are giving an answer to a problem, because like I say, it's a lot of things that have been tossed to the wayside that a lot of them have put their heart towards. So just because one event has gotten here and another event has been minimalized, sometimes it's like, okay, I dedicated myself here to this cause right here. And there has to be a conversation amongst a collective to understand where is this money's going to go. Because I got to take care of this here. I touch and agree with you on the cause that we're fighting because we're on the same team. It's just that this and I got to, and you handle this and you go take care of this, because if we all focus on one thing, then it's going to be like, okay, I wipe my hands with this one, but I still got to turn around because there's another problem that has to be addressed as well. Where in essence, every person has a heart for something that they want to contribute to creating a solution for. So with one incident that gets sensationalized, police brutality, we had Colin kneel for it. But there's a lot of people who feed the homeless and a lot of things that people try to allocate their funds to. And although they acknowledge but haven't put in the amount of money that some people want them to put inside of a cause, because their whole mindset is on another, hey, all it is, it comes from the heart. So whatever their agenda is, whatever their heart is set to do, I just pray that they continue to do that wholeheartedly, so that way we can address a lot of things at the same time.
And let's go back to what Jay-Z said. They asked Jay-Z, yo, why won't you go rebuild this? He said, mentality. He said, I can go back and I can like literally layer it all down, build up new buildings, put up new, fresh, Coke machines and everything, make it look beautiful. But he said, what good is it going to do if the mentality of the people that are there is going to tear it up anyway?
Right.
Now,
no, I just had a question, because I've had a similar conversation with some of my friends as to, well, this celebrity did this, or this celebrity gave this much, or this, I know this celebrity did that. I just want to know why do we look up to celebrities to give so much? I mean, I know it brings awareness to the cause, but I feel like we apply too much pressure on them. And like, I feel like if they wanted to do it, they should do it without even having to be asked. People are just like, well, you didn't give to this cause, and they might be doing it. You just don't see them doing it. You know what I mean? Just because they didn't post their charity doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. I just think that we as a people put too much pressure on celebrities giving and posting about it and reaping a benefit from it just to say that they did it. That's just what I think.
Yeah, but like why? And then you have to turn around to answer that question. Why do people get so angry when the same celebrities that you expect to give out of their pockets and to give and to donate to a cause and to be a part of something, why do you get mad when they sell something to you during that same time? Nobody said anything about Lil Baby putting a record out, shooting a video while he was protesting. Nobody said nothing about it. Record #1 in the country, right? Well, #2, because 6ix9ine got #1 record, but nobody said anything about that. Why? Why is that? Is it because it aligned with the cause? Or is it because he's from Atlanta? Or is it because you got to see him and you got to ride through the streets on your bike with him? Like, what is the reason that nobody said anything about that? Like you said, Kyle, the pressure that people try to put on celebrities or people with money. If people with money turn around and say, okay, if my game check, so an average game check in the NFL might be, dependent, Dak Prescott just signed a $31 million deal. So his average check per game is upward of $90,000 a game. That's not including his endorsement deals, because that's yearly. His shoe deal, that's yearly. The Campbell's, that doesn't include it. $90,000 a game. They play 16 games a year. he gets a check every week for the rest of the year to play out his contract. So you want me to dig in my $90,000? How much did you give out of your check? If people with money start asking people without money that same question, they would argue. And the reason is because people without money only listen to people with money. And people with money only listen to people with money.
With money,
So the
right.
conversations never actually join together. It's always like this. Because how much conversation can we have?
One thing I want to say is with people, when it comes to people with money, for those who don't have money, one thing that will make a person with money listen is what you can do without their money, which means that if the community can embody what it is that they want reciprocated inside of their community, then maybe you will catch ears, because that means that outside of monetary usage and gain, you was able to utilize your voice, your gifts, your talents, and all of that within your community to galvanize and bring unity into the community. In essence, that will make your views reach those with money, because that will elevate you to a position to where you can bring what it is to the people, the voices and the cries of the people, to those who can actually make something happen. That's from a not going through the political way type of route right there, because you now have stats. It is now proven, and with your video, it's like, dang, he was able to do this without my money, but he put his money into something that they so heartily need inside of the community. So I always push embodying what it is that you want inside of your community. If you want equality, if you want justice, if you want peace, then you show it in your everyday life. It'll create a momentum and a sense of togetherness, so that once it's presented and you have the opportunity, then there won't be any holes inside of your argument that you're trying to make. A lot of people try to step out divided, because it's like, yeah, it sounds good. And because that gets the momentum of how it sounds good, then there's no sound strategy behind it. Instead, it's just riding the momentum of so many kudos that you was given for saying the right message at the right time. But once the stuff hits the fan, they will realize that, oh, it was just to galvanize the crowd, but there was no plan involved. So therefore, it gets tossed to the wayside. But if you are embodying it, then you already have the plan of action enacted. And that right there would catch the momentum. And so once that opportunity comes and you sit amongst those who are the gatekeepers and things like that, then what their money gets allocated to will always be an effective movement in the way that you already seen it happen, wanted to happen inside of the community.
I think when we're looking at growing and moving forward, and I tell anybody this, I do not do well with the intangible, okay? Which means if I can't see it, feel it, touch it, be within the air of it, you know, it's nice to look at, right? It's like window shopping to me. And to me, that's a waste of my time, because let's say I wanted to go up to the Lamborghini dealership right now, and I want to go look at a Lamborghini. Yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to look at a Lamborghini. I can't afford that Lamborghini. It's something I can't touch right now. I need to go look at something that I can touch right now. I can touch a Lexus. I can touch a Honda. I can touch a BMW. I could probably maybe quarter sort of kind of touch a Tesla, right? And that's something that's tangible. That's something I can hold on to. It's like, you got to think about it like a gym mentality, right? When people go to the gym, they're like, oh, I'm finna shred 300 pounds. And they're thinking about, they're trying to do it in a week.
Right.
No, you're not going to do it in a week.
Right.
Start reaching, start looking at and dealing with tangible stuff that you can deal with. Trust me, I like Jay-Z, I like Obama, I like Will Smith. They're pretty awesome, right? But I'm going to look at that businessman that works in my office, or that man that's in my community that I can actually have a conversation with. Yes. And I can actually, you know, call upon and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to start there. And then what happens is sometimes things might happen where I might outgrow that person. I might kick it up to the next level. Then I need to change that person. And then next thing you know, I might outgrow that person. And then you just keep doing that. It's a stair step. So one, it takes work, but two, it takes, you know, having a realistic mindset of the position that you're in, in order to be successful, right? And so I think with a lot of people, when we look at celebrities, and back to Kyle said, why do we always look at celebrities? First, start with your mother, start with your father, your aunt, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your cousin. Start there and start setting goals and having business conversations with them, because it goes back to the thing that's been said over and over and over and over and over. And guess what? It's going to be said over and over and over again. The 5 people that you can surround yourself with is the 5 people that you could literally labelly say, that's who I am. So you have to turn.
So let me ask.
Go ahead.
So let's shift, because there's some other things I do want us to get into. So the conversation, and I know Derrick's gonna love this, the conversation about reparations has come to the forefront again. I was watching an interview. I didn't like that. I was watching an interview with I can't remember the lady's name, but she was interviewing Dr. Bernice King, and Dr. King brought up about reparations, and now people are starting to feel that because the playing field is so uneven, and we've tried everything to at least level it, education, entrepreneurship, all these things, and the ideology is the only way to level this field and to make it right is to give reparations. Not Bob Rogers, the guy that was the founder of BET, Johnson, Bob Johnson put a proposal out there with a number attached to it saying that this amount would go into reparations. Derrick, do not take 50 years, but what is your thought on reparations?
So this discussion has been had since the 80s. The number has been very specific, but it's went up about $30,000. So the estimated number per person of descendants, direct descendants of slaves, is $146,327 per person. I think that's the number that I saw, and then there was another number that was like $164,000 per person. Well, I like the idea. It's a great idea, but we live in America, and America don't work like that. What America does do is they give money to people that they can benefit from. And they realize that giving money to a community that you built the country on the backs of, that you literally no longer need, it doesn't make sense. They bombed the Japanese and gave them $40 billion. The Holocaust survivors, why, we ain't had nothing to do with that. Descendants of Holocaust survivors get money every year. Well, I am the direct descendant of a person that was snatched from West Africa and taken directly to Haiti. I'm a direct descendant of that. He was a slave. Why don't I get any money from that? And you built the country on the backs of the labor of all of these people. Not saying all of them were slaves. Not saying that a lot of people didn't get something, but a lot of them didn't. And most of us are direct descendants of people that got nothing for their lives. Like, their life meant nothing. Their history meant nothing. The good things and bad things that they did meant nothing. Most people don't know who they are. This conversation will be had until somebody say, you know what, we got to do it. Because there is no real plan. There's always a number. There's always people saying, well, if we can't get money, then we should get it in the form of education, or we should get it in the form of property and this and that. And that. Mm-hmm. Look, nobody has put a plan together that they stand by. Every time one person puts a plan together that makes sense, because that plan that Bob Johnson is talking about, that was introduced by Huey P. Newton in the 80s. Here's the number. Here's how many miles and acres of land that we believe that we should get. We believe that this many people should be a direct, they should get this much. That was presented in the 80s. Every time a person does it and a few people agree, there's another group of people that says, you know what? Nah, that don't make sense. We need to get more than that. Or no, that's too much. We need the kids and this. Until what we're doing right now, this form that we're doing on the leadership lane, until something like that can happen with the leaders in the Black community, which in real life, there are no leaders. There are people that are great people. Michael Eric Dyson, great person. Dr. Umar, great person. James Clark, great person. Feel like there are a lot of people in the Black community that have lived the lives of their ancestor because they were there, they came through it, they saw it, they tried to pass down the message, but we don't want to listen to them. And they don't want to listen to us. So this conversation will continue to be had. And like Kyle said, with white people being aligned with us, why are we not having that conversation directly with them? Why are we not getting them to agree with us, to put that number and get those opinions to say, okay, I stand by you. His generation, not my generation, not your generation, it's going to be that younger generation that will put forth something that'll make sense, and they will be 100% aligned with each other.
Right.
All right. So as far as the reparations, and Derrick, you were just talking about how much and the debate that will go on with that. But I've talked about this with my friends as well. My issue is, how do you decide who gets reparations? Because now there are so many ambiguous people. So many people have like a 1% of Black in them. How are you going to tell a mixed person that don't really look like a direct descendant, but they're still Black, that they don't deserve a reparation? Because I mean, like, looking at me and then looking at somebody like, I don't know, the Zendaya, you know what I mean? How do you tell them that they don't get their reparations? Or, how do you tell them they do get? That's true, but like, at the same time, I think that's going to be a major issue, because a lot of people are going to be like, well, you don't look Black, but you can't tell somebody that just because they don't look Black.
Plus that conversation will be had, the difference between people that were taken to Haiti, people that were taken to Cuba, people that were taken to the Caribbean and in Jamaica, people that were taken to Brazil, people that were taken to South America. How many of those descendants live here in America now? How can you say that one person is more deserving of reparations than another? Well, then you copied the same game that white people did when they gave reparations to Indians. They gave it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you look a little bit Indian. Oh, you're married to an Indian woman. Oh, okay. What's your last name? Okay, what reservation do you live on? They start, like you said, a lot of people look ambiguous, and a lot of people's family heritage is also ambiguous. Everybody won't agree with it, but if you tell everybody that they'll get it, everybody cool with it. That's why that's this stimulus. And I talked to Ricardo about this when they first said they was gonna give it away. If everybody doesn't get it, somebody will complain.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with reparations. Nobody actually knows whether or not, because everybody don't have $150 or $350, depending on which plan you go with the ancestry. Everybody doesn't have that to spend to go find out who they are a descendant of.
Mm-hmm.
I had it, I spent it, I found out. How many other people can say that? Not everybody, but that's how you got to tell everybody they're gonna get it. At this particular point, everybody has to feel like they're gonna get it. And then you wean off the people. No, you're related to. No, you're a Jefferson. You're not gonna get it. No, you're a Washington. No, you're not gonna get it. No, you're related to Grant. No, you're not gonna get it. Oh, but you're related to the Delaney sisters, one of the biggest Black-owned plantations in Louisiana. You're related to them. So, I mean, I guess it's gonna be one of those things. Everybody has to feel like they're gonna get something out of this, or nobody will get it.
All right, so we've had a conversation about a lot of the general topics. So the question that's on the table is, we've gotten global attention. People are actually paying attention. So what do we need? What should we be asking for at this point? What does the Black community need? What should we be asking for? What do we need to be reflective in legislation? That is the question now. So what is everybody's thoughts on that? What should we be asking for? We have the stage, we have the ear, people are listening. Now they're saying, what do you guys need? So what do we need?
I think we need equality. I think
what does that mean?
At the end of the day, it should not matter what county you live in, what type of education your child gets. It should not matter, the color of your skin, or your sex or anything, or I'm sorry, your gender, how much you should be getting paid. I mean, I think that's something we've all been asking for forever, right? Now, I will say that some groups are more proactive, and maybe we need, as a race, we need to look at how they're, able to cross those bridges and get what they want. But at the end of the day, I think everybody who's been out there protesting. I think people who haven't been out there protesting. I think we just want equality at the end of the day, and just know that when I go and I apply for this job, I'm going to get it because of this. Because I'm just going to jump into my single father soapbox here for a second, right? I remember when there was a time I was unemployed and I had my son, and I tried to get food stamps, and they didn't want to give it to me. I was on the phone with the representative, and I'm not going to lie, and I apologize to that young lady, but I cursed her out. I said, if I was a single woman, would I still be going through these hoops? Would I still be having these troubles of getting food stamps, right? And, next thing you know, I got approved. We do have a lot, we got a long way to go. But I think what we're shooting for is equality. I think if federal steps in more, because they always trump state, if federal steps in more to handle some of the political issues like this, if they had stepped in a long time ago, think about it, 4 officers versus 4,000 people rioting. Which one would you rather deal with, right? But they said, no, we're going to deal with 4,000 people. Okay, tax dollars, here we go, let's do this. And the people were like, well, guess what? We pay the tax dollars, which means we pay you, so we can do what we want. And we're going to do what we want, and we're going to flex our amendment, our freedom of speech, our freedom of protest. That's what we're going to do. But see, the biggest disconnect is our government's not listening to us. They're not hearing us. Think about that. 4 people versus 4,000. Which one would you rather go up against?
All right, my young folks, what do we
Go
need?
ahead, Ashton.
What we need.
Really, Kyle?
You threw me up in there. What we need is understanding during this time right here. The reason why I say understanding, because it will include equality. It will include answers that we all, to the questions that we all have. It'll include clear definitions and specific things. It will encompass all of that. And plus, it will also be able to set guidelines as far as what we all need, because we could present something to the government, but do we all understand what it is that we are presenting so that we all could be on one accord when we present it? As far as the government goes, understand that they operate on a whole different agenda that we operate on. It's something that's not based off of morals, but also solely based upon, does this make sense? And if it makes sense, will it make dollars? Will this keep us in a position of power? We have to understand that as a leader, you are a servant to the community, and the community should understand that what we have enacted, once we have everybody's attention, what the specific demands that we have, we must embody it in decency and order, not just because we have who we want in office. Should we just go and act a plumb fool just because we think that the job is done because we have that person in office? The accountability must be intact amongst law-abiding citizen and law enforcer. And so each and every person can still understand that this is what was set. We are embodying this. Now when we sit down in a meeting, is this thing here? What are the pros and cons of what is going on now, so that we can nip this issue in the bud before it becomes a problem? So understanding, because that'll encompass everything that we're asking for and then some, to keep everything that we are trying to make happen, trying to get reestablished, remain intact for generations to come.
All right, Kyle.
What we need, I say what we need is inclusion and respect. I was talking to a friend about this and just everything going on, because like 2-3 weeks ago, when everything first initially started to happen, every social media platform that you had, everything was just flooded with police brutality, riots, burning buildings, all of this, all of those kind of things. And he said that he just chose it was too much, and he chose to ignore it. And I was like, how do you just ignore something like this? Not necessarily ignore it, but just not feed into it as much. I just feel as though it's time that we are included and we are respected as a people, Black people, the community as a whole. It's mind-boggling to me that we're still dealing with things that my grandmother and my great-grandmother dealt with, just like not being seen as a individual or as an equal because of the color of our skin. And I feel as though right now, like Ricardo said, we have the attention and people are listening. People in higher positions are listening. So I feel as though now is the time to take action. And I think we're in a good place right now. And my generation did.
Oh, what do we need?
What do we need? I think that's a very, very broad question. But if I had to start, especially with our community, the Black community, I agree with Ashton. I think it needs to be set. There needs to be a set foundation that we can all stand on. We all need rules and regulations. There has to be an operational system. There has to be something that all of us agrees with. We have to set something that says that we are Black, and this is what we agree with, and this is how we feel, and this is what we see, and this is what we want. There can't be 150 people saying that we want something different. There can't be 100,000 leaders. It can't be like that. There has to be something set that we can all stand on. Leaders that came before us had set a foundation that we all agreed with and that we all agreed that we can stand by and stand on. It has become over this later time with our generation and with Kyle's generation that there is no set leader. There also aren't any set rules that everyone has to stand by. We need to start there. We need to start with a plan that can be introduced by us, whether it's the generation of me, Ricardo, and Jason, or if it's presented by Kyle and Ashton, or if it's presented by my daughter who's 6. There needs to be a set of rules that no matter what generation that we live in or won't live to see, they can say, I stand on those same principles that my father stood on. He stood on the same principles that his father stood. There has to be something like that, or we won't get anywhere because we'll keep arguing about what the solution is. We can't even agree what the problem is. So if we can start there by everybody agree, this is the problem. Now, everybody present a solution. We vote on what the best solution could be to better all of us, not just Black people, because it gets very specific. And when Black people argue things that only benefit them, you forget that there are brown people that stand next to us and stand with us. There are people from other countries that stand with us and stand next to us. We have to be specific for things for us, but we have to also include other people because they stand with us. If we start there, the fear of us starting is what everybody fears. They don't fear us getting something done. They fear us starting.
Right.
They fear us getting started. They fear what Ricardo is doing right now. They fear what Jason and Ashton and Kyle are doing right now. They fear what I'm doing right now. They fear the conversation. Start the conversation. Lead the conversation. Not have a leader of conversation, but introduce topics and things that contribute to the conversation, and then present it. We start there. It's nothing that we can't do if we start there. Everything else will fall in line, like Ashton said. Everything falls in line. There's a time and a season. What time and season is it? If we agreed on the time and the season, we'll be all right.
The time is now.
That's true.
So if everybody agreed with that.
That's true. That's true. The time is now. And one thing I wanted to piggyback off of what you had said there. There's this thing that the government actually enacts, just to give an example of what be going on regarding different set agendas. to piggyback off of what you said, they hate the fear of what we are starting. And the way that they are able to control that is when they take the momentum of what we are doing and they can actually manufacture what it is that we're doing on their playing field to show a representation on a big platform that, hey, we are actually listening to you. We are actually doing this. The reason why they do that, to manufacture that, is to stop the consistency that we are building with the momentum of starting. So once you realize that, okay, they put a figurehead to represent what it is that the community is talking, to make the masses that aren't doing what we're doing overlook what we have been consistently doing over the years, just because now our ideals are being sensationalized on the platforms that they can control, that would limit the impact, which is why I say it needs to be understanding upon the principles of, first of all, what it is that we are fighting, and also the consistency and the accountability and understanding of what it is that we will stand for. Because when they manufacture this figurehead, like we had Martin murdered, they had Martin murdered in front of you. They had Malcolm murdered in front of you. You had JFK murdered in front of you. And what they stood for, because they put it up here, it was reciprocated inside of the communities. You can go all the way down, all of the civil rights leaders, from the Black Panthers all the way down. They put them here, and then they were killed off. And there's this, that's why we still have these questions here. It's the name of that is, it was introduced by the FBI. It's called COINTELPRO. And pretty much basically what it is prevent the quote unquote Black Messiah from rising up amongst the people, inciting what it is that we want enacted inside of our communities. Because when they manufacture that figurehead that to represent what it is that we do with our gifts cultivated, there's a 3-part plan. The momentum building, the galvanizing of the audience, and the inaction. 2 of the 3 is always done. The momentum building and the galvanizing the crowd. The galvanizing the crowd is where they start talking the exact same and having the exact same conversation presented on their platform to us, to make it seem like, yo, they finally understand and get it. But that desensitizes us embodying and living and passing down inside of our communities what it is that actually has to be set in order for us to live and have it intact. So before it's enacted, then they're removed, thus leaving people feeling that they never had a leader, because, okay, if we try to do this, that's going to happen to us. Well, in actuality, the game was already controlled by the ones who set the agenda to deter you from even trying to start. So I encourage each and every one of you all to continue what we are starting, because this right here, the embodiment of what we want in our community, resides in our community. So that way we can have what it is that we want in our community.
All right. So on that note, since y'all have run me to 1:30, I want to say thank you to all the guests on today, Jasen, Double R, Ashton, Kyle, and myself. And yeah, so on Monday, we will have return candidate Triana. Oh, God, I keep forgetting names. Triana, who was with us a couple of weeks ago. She was running for state senate in District 30. She's actually in a runoff, but she did win the majority of the vote. So she's come back on Monday to talk about her platform. And I guess you guys will kind of motivate me to kind of do this again. So you guys can look forward to seeing this again sometime soon, another panel of African-American men and maybe some other ethnicities where we actually have conversations to get to the bottom of what we really need, so that when all this is said and done, our community is in a better place than it was before it actually started. So we will see you on Monday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Brand with your host, Ricardo D. Wright.